Welcome. This deep dive is tailored just for you, and today we're venturing into a fictional landscape. So unsettling, it might just leave you questioning the very fabric of our own reality.
We are.
Our source material. Excerpts from Agustina Bazterrica's novel, Tender is the Flesh.
And what a landscape it is. I mean, imagine a world where a virus has just obliterated animal populations, making their meat toxic.
Right.
And the unthinkable response that is somehow taken hold is the legalization and complete normalization of, well, human breeding and consumption.
Unbelievable.
So our goal here is really to dissect this chilling world through the protagonist's eyes, extracting the most crucial, the most disturbing, and ultimately, I think, the most thought-provoking elements of this dark vision.
Okay, so let's start with the transition. That's what the media in the book calls it, right?
Right.
But for Marcos, our protagonist, that phrase just doesn't sit right.
No, it really doesn't. It sticks in his throat, as you said. It doesn't even begin to capture the sheer violence and the speed of what actually happened.
Yeah, the speed.
What's fascinating, I think, is his inability to reconcile that sort of sanitized term transition with his visceral memories. This wasn't some slow societal shift.
No.
It was a brutal, rapid upending. He's haunted by these images, burning cats and dogs, the pervasive stench of their charred bodies. A simple scratch on a pet suddenly became a death warrant.
Yeah.
And this abrupt shift really highlights how quickly established norms can just crumble when there's a crisis.
And it escalated so fast. Marcos remembers the initial horror, right? The public outcry when neighbors started killing and eating unemployed Bolivian immigrants.
Yeah, that was the first scandal.
A line crossed. Definitely. But then, disturbingly, this became the first step, didn't it? Normalizing the idea that, well, meat is meat.
Exactly. That initial public reaction and then how it just eroded, that's a key insight into how dehumanization works.
Also.
Well, by targeting marginalized groups first, the immigrants, the poor, the societal taboo against consuming human flesh was sort of incrementally broken down. It makes you ask, how do societies decide who's other?
And how that othering can lead to, well, this.
Precisely. Paving the way for unimaginable acts.
Then comes the legalization. It seems almost inevitable in the story's logic. The traditional meat industry collapses, but it's still this powerful lobby.
Right. Pressure mounts, and the government ultimately just legalizes human meat consumption. Processing plants get repurposed, and humans basically become livestock.
The repurposing part is particularly chilling.
It really is. It speaks to this horrifying efficiency, doesn't it? A bureaucratic adaptation of systems designed for animals, now applied to people.
It shows how easily our own systems could potentially be twisted.
Yeah, given the right or maybe the wrong circumstances, a dark potential.
So Marcos, he finds himself working right in the middle of this new reality at a tannery owned by a Senor Urami.
And his job involves processing human skin. Human skin. His main goal seems to be just feeling nothing, trying desperately to suppress the memories.
But they keep coming back.
They always do. What's really striking about his experience there is the sense of oppression, the silence among the workers.
The constant surveillance by Urami through cameras, it creates this atmosphere of total control, stifling any dissent, even independent thought.
And that environment is probably crucial for normalizing the horror of the work itself.
Absolutely. You need that kind of control.
And there's that detail in Urami's office, that reproduction of Michelangelo's The Last Judgment.
Oh, yeah. The cheap reproduction.
And Urami just casually points out the flayed St. Bartholomew, almost like he's saying, see, this isn't so different.
It's such a disturbing attempt at justification, that casual reference to a religious martyr.
Yeah.
It's deeply unsettling.
He's trying to frame their gruesome work in some kind of historical context.
Or even spiritual, maybe. However twisted that connection is, it just highlights this dangerous societal desensitization where even cultural touchstones can be perverted to rationalize the unthinkable.
Make you wonder what other moral foundations could be manipulated like that.
Exactly. What seems unshakable now?
Urami even talks about preferring human skin professionally. Says it has a superior grain. He has a folder of samples, meticulously detailing the challenges, like wounds during transport. It's this clinical assessment of something that was, a person.
Reducing them to a commodity with desirable traits.
It's profound objectification. That special folder with different skin types just reinforces it. Humans as raw materials assessed only for market value.
And we learned about the science of it all. The precise, flaying, symmetrical cuts to avoid waste.
Even the stunning process, the hydration of the product, it's all about maximizing yield and maintaining quality.
Industrial scale horror.
That level of meticulous detail, it really underscores the industrialization of human slaughter. It's not chaotic butchery, it's highly regulated, optimized, like factory farming, but
Our people.
yeah, it shows how easily bureaucratic systems can adapt to the most horrific purposes.
Then there's that visual contrast he notes. The hairy skins from the breeding centers versus the hairless ones already processed.
That's a grim illustration, isn't it? Different stages in this human agricultural system.
The hairy versus the hairless.
It subtly highlights the complete life cycle. The hairy skins, maybe from younger individuals closer to their original state, while the hairless are the final stage. It's chillingly efficient.
And despite all this, Marcos stays. Why?
Well, he's good at it, apparently the best. He says he lacks other skills, and crucially, his father's health is deteriorating.
The cost of care.
Exactly. It ties him to this gruesome income. It's a powerful, tragic trap. Economic desperation forcing participation in morally repugnant systems.
He's trapped by circumstance.
Which shows how widespread societal breakdown can become tangled up with individual survival.
His work then takes him to a breeding center, Todd Voldelig, for a meat run.
Right. And even a simple phone call he makes to his father's nursing home reveals this chilling detachment in the caregiver's voice, Nelida.
Her tone is almost dismissive, you mentioned.
Almost flippant. Using routine phrases about his father's condition, it just speaks to this pervasive desensitization. Even caring for the vulnerable becomes detached, almost automated.
Empathy just erodes.
When you're constantly exposed to suffering, yeah.
At the breeding center, he meets El Gringo. And there's a German visitor.
Yeah, Egmont. El Gringo uses an automatic translator to talk to him. It's bizarrely international, this trade. Suggests a global acceptance somehow.
That this could become a normalized global commodity.
That's the chilling suggestion. That economic forces and shifting norms could lead to accepting things we currently find abhorrent.
El Gringo calls the center a great living warehouse of meat.
Horrifying language. And the heads, reducing people to just heads, kept separate to prevent violence.
He talks about first-generation pure, FGP heads.
Born and bred in captivity, no genetic modification, treated purely as commodities. His language is just chillingly pragmatic, strips them of all individuality, all worth.
Mirroring animal husbandry.
Directly, it solidifies the dehumanization.
And the teasing stud, branded.
Branded with T and V, kept just for breeding. El Gringo explains artificial insemination for homogeneous batches, disease prevention.
Like cat.
Exactly. He even boasts about showing the stud at the Rural Society for prizes, like prize livestock. It's a grotesque parody.
But there's also a hint of something darker underneath, isn't there? A clandestine conversation.
Yes, about premium meat, export quality, and sick heads rejected by the Food Standards Agency. It hints at an unregulated underbelly.
Corruption, exploitation, even here.
It seems the pursuit of profit, cutting corners, it persists. Mistreatment beyond the official rules suggests that greed and disregard can still prevail, even in the most controlled, horrific system.
El Gringo even shows off a female's teeth, her confirmation.
Just like you'd assess an animal, emphasizing the investment in vaccines, it's stomach-churning, the complete erasure of their humanity, applying livestock criteria to people.
Reducing them to biological traits, assessed only for their use.
It forces you to confront what happens when life is perceived purely through utility.
Then we get the euphemisms, the language they use to cope or maybe to hide.
Right, the linguistic gymnastics, special meat for hands.
Lower extremity for feet. Spaniel's delicacies for tongues, noses, other parts.
Eyeball liquor. Tongue à la vinaigrette. It's a deliberate attempt to sanitize the unspeakable.
And very effective, probably.
Chillingly effective for societal normalization. Adopting familiar butcher terms distances people from the reality of cannibalism, makes it more palatable, literally and figuratively.
It's a linguistic trick with huge psychological effects.
Definitely.
And Spaniel, the butcher, she seems particularly dark.
Cynical. She acknowledges her own flesh might end up sold. Jokes about wanting to taste bitter.
Gallows humor.
But with this disturbing layer of acceptance of their grim reality, it's a coping mechanism, maybe? Highlights the powerlessness, the desperate need for some kind of control.
Even with human meat, the old animal butchery terms stick around.
They persist. And then Marcos buys balanced feed for a domestic head.
And we find out he keeps a female head himself. in his barn.
Yeah. This introduces a really personal, morally ambiguous dimension. It's not just his job anymore.
A blurring of lines.
Suggests a personal connection, however fraught and complex. Raises huge questions about his motives and whether empathy can persist even in this brutality.
He also visits the processing plant itself. Krieg's office. Krieg seems
Off. Described as isolated, uncomfortable with human interaction. Maybe even those deeply involved can't fully reconcile themselves to it.
a lingering sense of the unnaturalness.
Could be. A fundamental dissonance between their actions and maybe some innate humanity they try to suppress.
And the job interviews, Marcos observes, people aren't there because they agree with it.
No, it's sheer survival.
Yeah.
Economic desperation again, not acceptance or moral alignment.
Highlights how systemic failures force people into morally compromising spots.
Absolutely.
The tour of the plant itself is just a nightmare. The desensitization room.
Speaks to the intentional psychological numbing needed to do this to other humans. And the stunning, by Sergio with a club, brutal, but focused on preserving the meat quality.
Prioritizing the product over the person's suffering. Stark dehumanization.
Then the slitting room, the bleeding process, graphically described.
And that moment where a stunned female wakes up.
Briefly regains consciousness and is dispatched with a captive bolt pistol. It's a brutal, jarring reminder of the life being extinguished. And that things can go wrong.
The product momentarily reasserting its humanity.
Exactly. Then the tour goes through the awful room, the cutting room, almost complete utilization of the body.
Eyes, tongues, ears, brains meticulously removed, labeled.
Then the flaying, dividing carcasses with chainsaws. A truly nightmarish assembly line, reducing individuals to components.
No dignity, no value beyond the parts.
Just raw materials.
And all this time, Marcos is grappling internally, right? Calculating the cost.
Yeah, the number of heads needed to pay for his father's care to cope with losing his son. It's this grim calculus of survival and grief.
The psychological toll must be immense.
Weighing human lives against personal obligations, his own grief. It creates a moral abyss. The individual human cost of participating in something so inhumane.
Away from work, he goes to the abandoned zoo.
A place filled with memories. His wife, his son, his father taking him there after his mother died.
The Chagall print, the silent visit to the lion's den. Poignant reminders of the world before.
The zoo is a powerful symbol of that lost past. His memories there are full of loss, the struggle to reconcile past and present. That silent lion's den visit hints at early breakdown, shared unspoken grief.
His visits to his father at the nursing home sound strained.
Marked by his father's decline, Nelita's detached care, and we learn about the black market for elderly bodies after death.
Oh wow, so the commodification extends even beyond death.
It shows a further descent into moral decay, even remains are traded for profit, the devaluation is pervasive.
But then, back at his barn, Marcos finds he can't kill the female he keeps.
It's a significant moment, isn't it? Suggests a flicker of remaining humanity, or maybe a complex connection forming.
A crack in his emotional detachment.
Hints at a lingering moral conflict, maybe empathy he's been suppressing. Raises questions about the limits of dehumanization. Can it ever be total?
Then that awful lunch with his sister Marisa.
Her superficial concern and her twins. Their morbid curiosity about what he might taste like.
That's deeply unsettling.
And the new cold room in her house. It raises disturbing questions about her own possible involvement. Raising heads, maybe?
It shows how normalized it's become, even within families. Permeating everyday life, family dynamics.
Horrifically so.
He goes back to the zoo after that lunch, sees graffiti. I miss the animals.
Simple, heartbreaking. Captures that longing for the lost natural world.
And his care for the female in his barn becomes complicated. That prohibited act.
A moment of profound, disturbing intimacy. It really challenges the boundaries. Victim, perpetrator, connection. It blurs everything.
Highlighting that desperate search for connection in a dehumanized world.
And maybe the capacity for both cruelty and connection in these extreme circumstances.
Then we hear about the immolation church, a sacrifice at the plant.
Guest on Shafe. It's another unsettling facet, this attempt to find meaning, maybe spiritualize the horror.
And Marcos just handles it. Detached.
His detachment underscores the numbing effect of his reality. How even the most horrific acts can become ritualized, seem normal.
Then the hunter, Earlet. Legal human hunting.
At a game reserve. It's grotesque. His collection of trophies, that casual lunch with fresh fingers.
It's the ultimate dehumanization, isn't it? Reducing life to sport.
Entertainment for the wealthy and depraved. shows the extreme levels reached when empathy completely erodes.
He arranges a lunch for Marcos with Guerrero Iraola,
A former supplier of violent heads, and they discuss the literal flesh trade at a seedy club, Lulu Cabaret.
human trafficking and consumption, just casually discussed.
It reveals that dark underbelly again. Exploitation, consumption in the most literal, brutal sense. The intersection of power, exploitation, and the ultimate violation of dignity.
Back at Marcos's home, an inspector arrives.
And he desperately tries to hide Jasmine's pregnancy. That's the name he gives the female.
The pregnancy underscores the danger, the precariousness.
And his memories surface again of his dogs, Coco and Pugliese. A stark contrast to this reality, highlighting that loss of connection with the natural world, with genuine companionship.
Then his father dies.
And Marcos's reaction is surprisingly detached. Followed by the disturbing cremation process, he delays the farewell service.
More emotional numbness?
Yeah, and then that disturbing dream in the abandoned aviary. Static birds shattering, images of himself being silenced.
Reveals his inner turmoil, his fractured psyche, a manifestation of guilt, grief, the distorted reality.
Definitely. The psychological damage is profound.
He also visits the Volca laboratory. More horror.
Dehumanizing scientific experimentation on humans, drug addiction studies, sedating mothers to observe infants. It's the ultimate objectification, reducing people to subjects.
No autonomy, no dignity.
None. His phone calls with his estranged wife, Cecilia, are strained. But eventually, he confesses about Jasmine's pregnancy, the baby's distress.
And Cecilia returns.
Yes. They desperately try to help Jasmine give birth, but it ends tragically. A stillbirth. Silent grief.
Devastating.
A devastating consequence, highlighting the human cost, the impossibility of escaping this reality's reach.
And the ending sequence we looked at, the overturned truck.
Transporting heads, it leads to this brutal feeding frenzy by scavengers.
Complete breakdown of order.
The driver dies, Krieg wants violent retribution against the scavengers, and then Marcos makes that chilling suggestion.
To poison heads and give them to the scavengers. Delayed revenge.
It's a bleak endpoint. It reveals how much the violence and dehumanization have affected him, suggests his own potential descent into that same brutality.
Wow. This has been an intense deep dive. It's a profoundly dark, unsettling world Bazterrica creates in Tender is the Flesh.
It really is. It compels you to confront some truly uncomfortable, disturbing possibilities.
Yeah, definitely leaves you thinking.
What's particularly insightful, I think, is the novel's stark commentary. How seemingly small steps can lead to normalizing unimaginable atrocities.
And how language itself can be used, weaponized almost, to sanitize the horrific.
Exactly. And ultimately, it reflects on the fragility, the true value of human life.
So, something for our listeners to consider. In a world where the unthinkable does become commonplace, what are the lasting costs to our humanity, to our collective memory?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe what seemingly insignificant shifts in our own world might, if left unchecked, lead us down a similarly disturbing path, that slow, insidious transition towards a fundamentally altered reality.